Hey guys, Joe from the Crazy New York Driver Show here with a video for Friday, August 29th, 2014. So guys, how are we all doing? For those of you guys who have never seen one of my videos before, my name is Joe DeMarco. I am an eBay top-rated seller and my eBay user ID is Hubcap Joe's. And each Friday I come out here on this channel, the Crazy New York Driver channel, and we discuss eBay changes, whether they be positive or negative, and we have an open forum discussion and everybody is encouraged to participate. This way we can all stay abreast of what's going on and exchange stories with each other as our experiences have taught us. So let's get started. Today's main topic is going to be the new endangered species, the eBay top-rated seller. And along with that, also as a main topic, is the seller newsletter that I'm sure you all got in your inboxes the other day. Before we start with that, let's do our normal rehash of last week's video. Some of the topics you guys were most vocal on was number one, the China sellers. All of you guys seem to be in 100% agreement. And that was rare, but everybody seems to agree that these China sellers are hurting all of us. Every one of us is being hurt by these China sellers because eBay is bending over backwards and they're able to sell on eBay. They're able to ship cheaper to the US than we could to their country, and they are not being held accountable to the standards that we are being held. A quick example of that would be if a person opens a case, a snag case, okay, and we're in the hassle-free returns, we have to pay return shipping. However, the China sellers do not. They're immune from all that. So guys, rather than sit here and moan and cry, which I just don't have the time to do, my advice to you is boycott every one of them. Don't buy from China sellers, period. I think you guys are with me on this. Another thing that created a lot of comments was the extended holiday returns that are coming up. The 3-month return starting November the 1st to the end of January. You guys who don't take returns are immune from this, but those of you who do, I noticed some of you who are still top-rated sellers like me basically say you're going to opt in just to get the 20% discount, while those who aren't top-rated sellers say they're not going to opt in, and quite frankly, I don't blame you one bit. The global shipping program continues to be a tumultuous event. Quite a few people have said that they don't mind shipping to Canada, but they don't want to ship to Canada through the GSP because the GSP tacks on a lot of extra monies for the buyer, shipping monies. And I agree with you, it's true. I am not selling internationally yet. You know, last week or the week before I hinted that maybe I was going to try an experiment and start. Well, maybe I'm not going to do that because it's just too scary at this point. And a lot of you guys have really spoken up against it. And I really need to wait and see how it goes. One person even stated that hypothetically, if I was to opt in tomorrow, I wouldn't feel the negative ramifications for 2 or 3 months. What I think I might do, I think I might start shipping to Canada on my own, meaning I would handle the transactions myself, go to the post office and all that. Again, I haven't even started that yet, but that's something I might try. Another important thing, and I was very vocal about this last week, rush deals never work. If you get a buyer who contacts you and says, I must have your item next day, overnight, tomorrow, with a silver bow tied around it, please, please guys, rush deals never work. And most of you guys seem to agree with that. I have no problem with people contacting me with questions about an item that I have, or even contacting me to offer me less money than I really want, provided that the amount of money is reasonable. I had at least 2 or 3 people contact me this week offering me less money than I really wanted for an item. One of them I accepted because his offer was reasonable. The other one I did not accept. He was way out of bounds. Then he came back with a second offer, which was a little more reasonable. And I said to him, listen, guy, before I accept your offer, are you 100% sure this is the right size hub for your car? So he writes back to me and says, well, quite frankly, it's not even my car. It's my elderly aunt's car, and she also needs the bracket. Does the hub come with the bracket? And then more questions started coming. I said to him, listen, let's not rush into this. Rush deals don't work. Take your time, find out what you need for her car. The hubcap's not going anywhere. Get back to me when you have all the information. Okay? It's a good thing I asked him, are you sure this is the right thing? Because if I would have accepted his offer, and if he would have bought it, he would think he's getting all these extra hardware pieces, which is just not the case. Okay. Basically, that's all I want to talk about from last week's video. Let's move on to the new topics. I went onto Facebook yesterday, into one of my groups, and somebody had started a new thread moaning that eBay had contacted him and he had been stripped of his top-rated seller status. Well, I'm telling you guys, that thread was like this. I mean, huge, with people writing in saying they too have been stripped of their status because they received too many defects. There was a few people that wrote in and said they had not yet been stripped of their status. However, eBay had notified them that their projected outlook was to be stripped of their status next month. So my question to you right now, guys, this is my first official question of the video. I would like to know from you guys, how many of you guys are still top-rated sellers? How many of you guys are top-rated sellers but received a notice from eBay saying you may be stripped of that next month? Okay? And if you don't mind your defects, I'd like to know what your defect percentage is right now. Have you noticed that both your defect percentages and your shipment notification percentages you're tracking have been fluctuating greatly? Because I have. Mine have been fluctuating. Right now, thank God, I'm still a top-rated seller enjoying the 20% discount. I don't know how long it's going to last. Knock wood, my defect rating is pretty good right now. It's 0.56, I believe, which is pretty good. And I'd like to know where you guys stand on that, and what your feelings are as to why so many people are being weeded out. Now, we know it has to do with this stupid defect system, which I really do not approve of. I'm not saying the whole defect system is bad. I'm saying that there are several points that fly in the face of reality. So now, let's jump right into the seller newsletter and talk about defects. Okay. I would like to read a couple of things to you, if I may. I don't usually read off the screen, but I have to do it today. I mean, I know some of you guys got this and some of you didn't, but for those who don't know this, as far as defects, now listen carefully. The following defects are not eligible for removal. Number one, a seller resolves a buyer's problem after an eBay money-back guarantee is open. So what that means is, let's say a guy right now opened a case against me saying he purchased the wrong hubcap. Now, it's his fault, okay? He purchased the wrong thing, but he's opening a snag complaint. And let's say I say to him, oh man, no sweat, I'll exchange it for you. I'm still getting a defect. Now that is just plain wrong. Next one. Neutral or negative feedback that is later revised by the buyer. So if a guy left me a neutral feedback, like I was talking to you guys last week about that. Remember I said somebody had left me a neutral feedback, and I think it might have been by accident. And I said, there's no reason for me to contact the guy, because if he does revise it to positive, I still get the defect anyway, and so do you. This is another example of the defect system that's hurting us. Next item. A feedback comment that violates eBay policy, such as containing profanity or links. In this case, the feedback comment is removed. However, the feedback rating and any related defects are not removed. So what that means is if a guy gets your item and says, "Go F yourself in Macy's window," eBay would remove the comment, but not the rating and not the defect. In other words, a buyer openly violates eBay rules by leaving that profanity-laced statement. Nothing happens to them, but we still get their negative rating and their defect. Next, shipping-related defects when the transaction doesn't have tracking that enables us to verify an on-time order, fulfillment, and delivery. Well, that I can understand, because I think every seller should upload their tracking, period. Okay? I always do. Lastly, when an eBay money-back guarantee case is refunded to the buyer by eBay as a courtesy without a ruling of who was at fault. Now this is a weird one. This is freaky, so stick with me. What they're saying is, let's say somebody opens a case against you, item not as described. eBay jumps in, looks at it, refunds the buyer his money, but does not take the money from your account and does not rule against you. You still get a defect. Now, I pride myself as being pro eBay. I like to sell on eBay. There are some people that call me an eBay fanboy, and if you want to call me that, well, that's your business. But for an eBay fanboy to say he feels these things are unfair, well, then they must be unfair, right? Now, I'm not saying every single aspect of the defect system is unfair. I'm just highlighting on these reasons why eBay will not remove it. I have the front door closed because there's just way too much traffic rolling on by, and it's causing it to be a little warmer in here. I'd rather have the door open, but it would definitely ruin the quality of the video. So guys, my question is, I know what your opinion is of the defect system, but do you think that eBay is doing this to weed out top-rated sellers? To thin the herd? Because the 20% savings can really add up, guys. And I'm wondering, I mean, that's my personal feeling. I can't see any other reason why they would embark on such a crusade. Let's move on to another topic. eBay has been pushing the mobile app for the longest time, and each one of you got a little rating on your seller newsletter that says what percentage of your sales were made by eBay Mobile. I'd like you to share that with us in the comment section below, because we were doing that on Facebook. We were running a comparison. My percentage was 21%, and that was toward, I'd say, the lower end. There was a few people that had like 14 to 18%, and then as a high, there was one guy had 34%, but I didn't see anything higher than 34%. I'd like to know what your percentages are. Now, the next webinar coming up is going to be September the 17th. It's going to deal with best practices after the sale. I suggest each and every one of you guys register for that event right now. It's easy to do. From your seller newsletter, there's going to be a link to the webinar. There's going to be a link to the webinars. All you have to do is click it, register with your email address and your eBay account, and you're locked in. Again, it's going to be Wednesday, September 17th, 11 a.m. Western Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I myself try and attend every single webinar because it's really a good way. I mean, you know, I complain when eBay does something I don't like, but when they do something I like, I'm just as quick to laud them or praise them. I love these webinars. Now, there are some people that say, well, it's a cheerleading session for eBay. there are some that would think that, but I don't think that. I'm glad that they make these webinars. And as I said, I've had success with typing in questions and having them answered live. All right, any one of you guys can type in your questions and hopefully they'll get picked and they'll be answered live too. So I am a big fan of the webinars. Keep them coming. And Jim Griffin didn't make me say that either. And while we're on the subject of the webinars, there's going to be another one about the global shipping program the week after on September 24th, but I'm not going to even talk about that right now because that's too far off. Let's just handle what we got. So guys, this is the Labor Day weekend. And like I told you right before the 4th of July, I expect it to be very, very slow. Holidays for me always are slow on eBay. And it's understandable because people tend not to be online. I mean, you got people going away to the shore, people going away to events, to visit friends. Hardly anybody's going to stay around and go to the movies alone or anything like that, or go on eBay. So, sadly enough, I think it's going to be a very slow weekend. I remember the 4th of July was a very slow weekend, so I fear that this Labor Day weekend is going to be the pits too. Last weekend was very slow for me, unusually slow. However, once Monday rolled around, sales started picking up, okay? So, I mean, it wasn't all that bad. But sales do fluctuate. Once we get past Labor Day, I think it'll be smooth sailing. I think we'll be fine in September, October, and most of November until we hit Thanksgiving. That could be a bump in the road. But until then, I think we'll be fine. To rehash one thing I said earlier in the video, the top rated seller is an endangered species on eBay, and I think it's sad. I think it's sad because we're all trying hard, we're trying our best to do the right thing. You know, sometimes people make unreasonable demands or threaten, and that should be taken into account. But, you know, in corporate America, it's all about the bottom line. Sad to say, but that's the way it is. Any of you guys who lost your TRS status recently, like we were talking about, could you tell me if you plan to change your method of operations at all? In other words, if you were taking returns before, are you going to stop taking them now? And have any of you guys opted into the hassle-free return since we last talked? I have not. I have not. They're going to push this on us next year, okay? They said by the end of the year, but they also hinted that some sellers will be into it before the end of the year. So it is something to be concerned about for sure. But since it's not actually happening to me right now, I'm going to put that off for another month or so. So guys, I don't want to keep this a real long video because I know you probably want to do some holiday preparations or maybe list on eBay. What I'd like to hear from you guys, to rehash, number one, tell me if you lost your TRS status or if you've been notified by eBay you're in danger of losing it, or if you're still hanging on like I am. Number two, could you tell me, according to your eBay newsletter, what percentage of your sales were made using the eBay mobile app? As I said earlier, mine was 21%. I'd like to know how many of you guys are more. And, well, I guess that's all I'll talk about right now. You're all invited and welcome to comment. Let's keep it topical about eBay. Alright guys, so that's basically it for right now. I'm Crazy New York Driver, and you're not. Thanks for watching. You're welcome to comment on any eBay issue below, whether it's something from today's video or not. If it's eBay related, I want to know about it. Okay? Let's keep this a friendly and helpful atmosphere, and let's keep politics out of it. Kabish? This is the eBay channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Rock on.